There are 5 symptoms to burnout. In no particular order, they are irritability, a lack of desire to get started, lack of concentration, lack of energy, and being cynical. Today, I want to talk about what to do if you're stuck in burnout. My name is Seth. I'm a full-time fantasy author who likes making YouTube videos, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Burnout sucks. There's absolutely no other way to put it. It's the worst. And if you're engaged in pretty much anything in modern life, you'll have experienced burnout too. The most bizarre thing about burnout is that it doesn't just come for people who have super high stress jobs. In fact, often we experience burnout in things that we actually enjoy. Have you ever played a video game and you've played a lot of it, and then all of a sudden you're just, you can't even be bothered to open it up to play it, even though you know you enjoy the game? That's a form of burnout. Or have you gone to a job that just seems to be a drag every single day, and even thinking about it makes you upset and irritable? That's burnout too. In fact, our modern conveniences have done an amazing job of making our life easier and faster, giving us more access to all sorts of amazing things. But at the same time, it's come with a cost. Almost everybody experiences burnout to some degree or another for pretty much their whole life. Earlier this week, I woke up and I sat up out of bed, and the first thing that crossed my mind was just, oh no. See, I've learned over the years to understand when I am in burnout. If you are, as I am, obsessed with trying to optimize your life, you really quickly learn to recognize the warning signs of burnout. And man, I was in the middle of it. And I've noticed that as I go through my life, I fall into these repeated patterns of burnout, and it's almost like a cycle where I have some productive time and I'm like engaged with life, and then all of a sudden I just like hit a wall and I'm all burnt out. Now, some people push through and they keep going and they keep going and they keep going, and eventually their burnout gets so bad that they literally can't do anything. And we don't want to get there. But the question is, why do we burn out at all? Well, I have a theory about this. It's not very scientific, but it is based on practical experience, so take it for what it is, and hopefully you'll be able to get some value out of it. In fact, if you do get some value out of it, make sure to like and subscribe this video and hit the notification bell so you get to see the next one as well. I, like most people, have always treated life like it's a sprint, but it's not. Life is a marathon. Life is a marathon whose beginning is our birth and whose end is our death. Neither of those things are in our control. We don't decide where and when we're born, and we don't decide where and when we die. But what is in our control is the middle bit. It's everything in between the starting post and the finish line. But often we get so caught up in running the mile that's in front of us that we forget about all of the other miles that are still to come. And so we expend a huge amount of energy in trying to achieve this short-term thing, not remembering that we really need to maintain our energy for the long haul. I mean, think about it this way. If I started the race and I ran as fast as I humanly possibly could for the first mile, there's no way that I would be able to continue going at a reasonable pace. No, I'd collapse. And then if I just barely recovered and I stood up and I ran again as fast and as hard as I could, I would collapse again. And then all of a sudden, my entire race experience would be these series of short bursts of speed that are getting progressively shorter and slower as the fatigue builds up, punctuated by miserable times where I couldn't run a single step. That's not how people run marathons. Any professional marathon runner is going to tell you, you have to be able to keep your pace. You have to understand yourself. You have to understand the conditions under which you're running the race, and you have to pace yourself accordingly in order to achieve your best possible time. But that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of training, and it's hard to do, especially when you are engaged in a creative activity like writing. So what do we do when we are burnt out? Because we are going to get burnt out. That's just sort of a fact of modern life. So when you're feeling one of the 5 symptoms of being burnt out, your first solution is to get rest. See, burnout comes with the expenditure of energy. It's when we expend energy and we don't feel like we're actually making progress is typically when people start to burn out. And so the best thing that we can do is get rest, because when we're operating from a state of exhaustion, we just don't make good decisions. And so what you want to do is you want to try as much as possible to rest your body, but also your mind. Typically, burnout doesn't come from physical exertion, so a good way to rest is actually to go for a walk or to get some exercise. If you're a person who doesn't regularly get some exercise, try building a very short, small exercise routine into your life. One of the keys for this actually is to exercise outside, which is why I say go for a walk. In fact, it's scientifically proven that spending time in nature, typically about 20 minutes a day, will do absolute wonders for your mental state. So if you're feeling down, or if you're feeling like you can't get started, or if you're feeling irritable, go for a walk, spend at least 20 minutes a day outside, moving your body, and you're going to find that your mind is rejuvenated. Another way you can do this is through meditation. Meditation isn't easy, and there are 1.5 million videos on the internet talking about how to do it, so I'm not going to talk about it here. But meditation can be a really, really good way to get your mind back into an even state. I would say that if you are really irritable or you're having a lot of trouble envisioning a positive future, meditation is a really good way to just sort of reset. And then, of course, as part of this, get more sleep. One of the worst things that our modern society does is introduces things to disrupt our sleep. In fact, if you only take one thing away from this video, it's get more sleep. And I am saying this as somebody who absolutely hates sleep. Honestly, to me, sleep is the enemy. It stops me from doing all of the fun things that I want to do. Sleep sucks, but guess what? We need it. And unless we're getting good quality sleep, there is absolutely no way that we can perform at our peak. So, as much as I hate to say this, get more sleep. And then the second solution to burnout is to reframe your situation. Why is this so important? Well, it's so important because burnout really comes from a lack of hope. It comes from believing that the situation is not going to change. It's actually a defense mechanism that your brain uses to keep you from expending energy on something that is pointless. But the question is it actually pointless? No, most often it's not pointless. Though your situation might require some tweaking, it might require a lot of hard work, there's no situation in life that is hopeless. But when we feel like it's hopeless, that's when we start to burn out. When we feel like we're not going to be able to achieve the thing we want to achieve, that's when we start to feel all of these symptoms of burnout. And so reframing your perspective is a really good way to start bringing yourself back in line, start being able to envision a future where there is hope, where there is something to look forward to, so that you can start working towards it. So how do you do that? Well, I like to ask myself some questions. I just mentioned meditation in the previous solution, and one of the things I like to do is meditate on specific questions. Questions like, why am I even running the race? Like, what's the purpose or the thing that I'm trying to achieve with my whole life? Not the thing that I'm trying to achieve now, but what is it that I'm actually aiming for to be the defining piece or the defining characteristic of my life? Another version of this question is, what am I trying to achieve? What am I actually aiming for? Because sometimes the thing that's right in front of us, the work we have to do, is not the thing that we are aiming for. And when we lose sight of the thing that we're aiming for, the action in front of us just seems pointless. And so a third question that you can ask yourself as you're doing this reframing is, how does the action I'm taking today contribute to the thing that I'm trying to achieve, or to the defining characteristic of my life? And you can do this through vision planning, you can do this through strategic planning, you can do this through meditation, you can do this through talking to somebody who you love and who loves you about what is going on in your life. But the important thing is that you actually do it. Spend a little bit of time just trying to understand where you are in the race, trying to set perspective, and try to understand how the actions you're taking are not only leading you to the place you want to be, but are helping you become the person that you want to be. So those are my two solutions. Get rest and get perspective. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, definitely leave a like, leave me a comment letting me know what it is in your life that contributes the most to your burnout. And we'll see if we can come up with some solutions.